Hi, welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and today I'm doing the Let's Get Outside with Books tag. I originally had these wonderful, grandiose plans of going on a family hike and answering these questions maybe with my daughter as I was hiking, and then every time we've hiked, it's totally slipped my mind, and so I have decided I'm just gonna sit outside and film it instead. And yeah, I think that that's just gonna work out better for me. It's still an outdoor setting even though I'm not hiking. So let's dive in. Question number 1 is Into Thin Air. What is one of your favorite books about or set in the outdoors? I have quite a few of these books, so it's difficult to choose, but I think if I'm going to choose overall, my absolute favorite might be All Creatures Great and Small by James Herriot. It's actually a series. There's 5 books in the series, I think, and I have read 3 of the 5 and absolutely loved them all so very much. I'm sure you've probably heard about it, but it is about a country vet living in England. So while not all of the book takes place outside, a lot of it does. Some of it involves the veterinary practice of people bringing their animals into the office, but most of it is James Herriot visiting farms and caring for animals. So there is just a lot of description of the English countryside, of outdoor living, of farming, of small communities, and so there's just a lot of things to love about that book. The next prompt is Winterdance. This is the story of Gary Paulsen running the Iditarod for the first time, even though he isn't particularly good at it. I actually haven't even heard of this book until Sandy did this prompt, so it makes me want to read it. Do you have a hobby or a skill that you keep attempting even if you're not particularly good at it? And unfortunately, this is one of my toxic traits, is that if I feel like I'm really bad at something, I don't want to keep doing it. If I start a hobby, I want to immediately be good at it. And that's something that I'm trying to improve on, because I've always wanted to watercolor paint, but not necessarily put in the work to actually get good at it. So maybe one of these days I'll actually do that. But the only thing that kind of comes to mind is working out. I'm okay with not being good at doing certain moves because that is something I like to see improvement in. For some reason, that feels different to me than other hobbies. It just doesn't feel as skill-based to me, even though it is. I mean, you do improve, you do get better, you do get more skilled, you get stronger, but for some reason, that is a hobby that I'm okay with not being great at and improving on. The sun's starting to come out. It's kind of cloudy and now it's a little sunny. Prompt number 3 is Wild. This is the story of Cheryl Strayed hiking the PCT after the death of her mother. Recommend a book where the central theme is dealing with grief. For this prompt, I'm going to recommend a middle grade book that I think I've recommended on my channel before, but it's not one that I really have heard anyone talk about very much, and that is The Light in the Lake. So this book is actually about a young girl whose twin brother has drowned. He was investigating some things that he thought were kind of strange going on with maybe some sort of mythical creature in this lake that they grew up at. So there are some elements of her investigating that. There's also a lot of themes of conservationism and a lot of outdoorsy themes, so it kind of fits in well with this tag as well. But the primary focus of the book really is grief and her grieving the loss of her twin brother, and not just her, but how his friends are dealing with the loss, how her parents are dealing with the loss, and how they're all dealing with that loss together. And I thought that it explored those topics really, really well. Prompt number 4 is Into the Wild, which follows Chris McCandless, who travels to remote Alaska and unfortunately passes away in the wilderness. Does the idea of living off the grid or away from society appeal to you? Somewhat, in some ways. I like the idea of becoming more self-sufficient, so growing my own food, and I'd love to get chickens at some point, have my own eggs. I'd love to learn more about hunting and all of that kind of stuff. So there are elements that I think I would enjoy about being more off the grid, being more self-sufficient, but I don't know that I would do well with living 100% off the grid. Part of that is I really do like electricity. I like air conditioning. I like hot showers. But also, while I like getting away and getting away from things, I think that I would miss being able to talk to so many of my friends, especially because a lot of my friends don't live anywhere near me, and so we don't have an opportunity to get together and see each other. So I think after a while, I would kind of miss people a little bit. Question number 5 is A Walk in the Woods, which is the story of Bill Bryson and Katz hiking the Appalachian Trail. What is a book with a really interesting friendship? So the first friendship that came to mind is Eugene Rayburn and Mortimer Lightwood from Our Mutual Friend. And probably part of the reason that this came to mind is because I did just read this book in April. This came to mind because I love their friendship so much. So it starts out, they are lawyers, and their self-proclaimed trait is that they are basically lazy, and they like to mock society, especially uppity society, which they're kind of a part of because of their social position, but they like to make fun of the frivolity and the wealth and all that kind of stuff. But as the book goes on, their friendship really deepens. There's a lot of things that grow them as people, and they just change to really try to encourage each other to be better than they were before, and I really like their friendship a lot. And also, a lot of their dialogue really cracks me up. Prompt number 6 is Adrift, which is the story of Stephen Callahan's time lost at sea. Do you like the water? I do really like the water. I like to swim. We actually live pretty much right on a lake. So I love just being at the water. Like, I think my happy place is actually the ocean, which we're pretty landlocked where we are, but I love the ocean. I feel happiest when I am near the waves and everything. And so I do really like the water. I like boating. I like kayaking, although it's been forever since I have been kayaking, but I really do enjoy kayaking. And I'd like to learn to fish at some point, even though I never have before. Prompt number 7 is Hatchet, a fictional story of a young boy who is in a plane crash while traveling to Alaska and has to survive with only a hatchet. What is your favorite survival story? So the first book that came to mind when I read this prompt is not my favorite, because I haven't read a ton of survival stories. I do like them. I think I need to try to find more of them. But the first one that came to mind is Lord of the Flies. That's not my favorite because that is just not the way that I would want to survive in the wilderness. And then I thought of like The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, but I don't know if that really counts as a survival story. I mean, they were trying to survive the Alaskan winter, but it's not, I don't know, it's not as extreme as Hatchet or something like that. So a survival story that I did really enjoy that I do think qualifies is My Side of the Mountain by Jean Craighead George. And I love this story. This is basically about a boy just deciding that he's going to go out in the wilderness and see what happens. And I feel like this is every kid's dream in some way. Well, especially boys. But even when I was a kid, I loved the idea of being able to like go out and like live in the woods and make my own living and find ways to survive. And so I just really love that book. I think it's really fun. I liked it a lot better than Hatchet, actually, even though the storylines are kind of similar. The main character in My Side of the Mountain chooses to go survive in the woods as opposed to the boy in Hatchet who doesn't have a choice, but I just liked the character better than the boy in Hatchet. Prompt number 8 is A Perfect Storm, which is the story of fishermen that were lost at sea during a huge storm. And the question is, do you like stormy weather? And the answer to that is sometimes. I like stormy weather when I don't have anything to do. Like, I love a stormy day where I can just laze around and read. But to be honest, it's really hard for me to be productive when it's super gloomy out, and when it's gloomy for days on end, I start just like feeling very blah. So I like stormy weather when I can just sit around and read, but otherwise I would much rather have sun, I think. And the last question is to tag some friends. So I'm really behind on my booktube watching, so it's possible that I may tag people who have already done this tag. So if I do that, I'm sorry, just let me know in the comments so I can make sure to watch your video. So the first person I'm going to tag is Becca from Hicks Picks Books. I know that Becca is currently kind of on a YouTube hiatus, but I know she really likes being outdoors and walking and hiking, so I thought I would tag her in this. I'm also going to tag Melissa from Libraries and Labradors. I associate her with the outdoors often because she's always posting on her Instagram of like reading by the pool and stuff. So, I mean, that's not the same as hiking, but I always do think of like outdoors with her. And then I'm also gonna tag Amy of Hearth Ridge because I would love to hear her answers as well. If you have not done this tag and you would like to, consider yourself tagged, and thank you to Sandy for creating such a fun tag. This is her second original tag, and she does such a great job of mixing like questions about books along with personal questions too. So that makes it kind of fun because you get to know the person in addition to getting some good book recommendations. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more books content from me, and I will see you again next time.